Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions regarding this watch. Today we're discussing a model launched in 2007 and long regarded, at least by me, as the Cadillac of the dive watch space. Not everyone is into Cadillacs. I am, so you may know this as the Rolls-Royce of the dive watch space. It is the Blancpain 50 Fathoms in steel, the reference 5015, a long-running model that was the flagship of the 50 Fathoms collection from 2007 to 2024. And a lot of folks prefer the 50 Fathoms 5015 to the subsequent 5010. So let's show everyone watching what this has to offer and why you really should consider it for a smaller wrist than expected. Though a 45, it doesn't wear huge. What makes this one a little different is that it features the X71 bracelet, which gives it a more massive appearance, feel, but also better balance on the wrist. If you like to wear the watch loose, having that counterbalancing clasp and bracelet can keep it stable. So the watch is big at 45 millimeters in diameter. I measure it 15 millimeters thick. From lug tip to lug tip, it's actually not that broad across the wrist. It's 50.8 millimeters, though when you add the solid end links to the bracelet, it gets a bit broader at 55 across the wrist. And we have a 23 millimeter spacing between the lugs, and you can see that screws and bars are used to hold the strap or the bracelet in place. And I love that because it makes for more security than spring bars. I've seen too many spring bar disasters. So a lot of folks think they need the new 5010, which is a 42.3 millimeter, when in fact the 5015 is always worn smaller than its rated size. Now on the bracelet it does wear a little bit larger, but even so, my relatively small 16 centimeter circumference wrist wears it well, and I could wear this watch. It's not as thick as you might suspect, and it's got a little bit of a sort of bowl or cup-shaped caseback, so it sits low on the wrist, and it is very comfortable. This bracelet's long been regarded as co-equal with the Rolex Oyster, the best bracelet in the dive watch class. The watch has got a lot of mass and a lot of class. On the bracelet, it measures 209 grams, which is quite beefy. The bracelet's beautifully made. You can see it has these primary and secondary links, and they're countersunk into each other. So there's very little lateral play here. You can see we have some removable links, and then we have a double deployant clasp. Just to explain the way all of this works, you can see on the underside we have these brackets that are fixed by screws, so every single link you see is a link that can be removed. So keep that in mind when the time comes to size. You've got a lot of options. The clasp itself is really the only part of the watch that does not feel bespoke. You can see this clasp design has been featured many and by Blancpain in addition to innumerable others. The exterior, though, of the clasp and the bracelet is entirely Blancpain. You could see alternating polished and satin faces, nice detailing. Also the fact that there are a lot of gaps between the center links to allow the wrist to breathe on a very hot day. The twin trigger release system ensures that the clasp will stay shut resolutely no matter how active your lifestyle. There's a little case back sticker here, but it's not covering much. Inside we have caliber 1315. If you want to know what it looks like, check out my other 5015 and 5010 reviews, and you can see exactly what this handsomely decorated movement looks like. So you're just going to have to take my word that it's in there. Now, the example you see in my hand was retailed relatively recently. This was sold in 2024, so it has all the running changes to the 1315, including the 6-position adjustment and the silicone hairspring. The bezel of this watch takes after the model launched in 2003 for the 50th anniversary. That used a cambered sapphire over the bezel that looked like $1 million, and so it's remained a feature of the watches ever since. So you can see it's not flat like you'll see on a Grand Seiko or a Supermarine from Bremont or an IWC Aquatimer. This is a domed, vaulted, cambered, dewdrop-like sort of magnifying lens. If you can think of how a dewdrop seems to magnify what's underneath it, or a magnifying glass with a curved glass will appear to magnify whatever's under it. This appears to magnify the scale underneath. And because the sapphire is scratch resistant and it protects the luminescent numerals and indices, the whole bezel can be luminescent without any risk of that lume being chipped off by abrasion. It is a relatively creamy 120 clicks. So you can see how I can line this up, and it's really easy to read the time as it counts up from 0 to 60. Easier to read than a chronograph without the downstream maintenance costs. I've always preferred dive bezels for that reason over chronographs. And you can see that the seconds hand is loomed, which is important because you need to know underwater where there's less light, whether your backup dive timer is working. Some people take exception to the date that's between 4 and 5. I actually like the fact that they don't replace an index or a numeral, as the loom shot proves the payoff from that offset date is a more legible watch. Okay, the dial disc at center, you can see there is a distinct disc at center, and that the center dial and the hour track are actually not finished exactly the same, but the disc stands out. And this was a feature that was included on the 45s in order to sort of mask the size of the watch. Otherwise, we'd have this enormous sort of undifferentiated center dial. Now, they don't have that on the 5010s. Blancpain reasoned correctly, in my opinion, that you didn't need this trick of the eye on the smaller watch, but for some reason, a lot of people are now calling for it on the 5010. So in a lot of ways, what turned out to be one of the most beloved styling features of the 5015 reference, this reference, was actually sort of a measure to obscure the disparity between movement size and case size here. So taking a quick look now, there's a lot going on. The watch is inspired by the original 50 Fathoms of antiquity, but it's very much a modern luxury watch. So we have modern luxury watch features, including hacking seconds, and also a quick set for the date. So you can see that date now. I was telling you about that date before. There it is, down at the bottom. It's very crisp, quick set action. They do a pretty good job here of keeping all of the font consistent, which is a big mistake companies do. Oftentimes because they rely on suppliers to provide things. But if you look at this 3 and this 3 and this 3, very similar. The only break would be that 3 and that 3. But they did a pretty good job here. Again, you can't see the case back, but protected by its silicone hairspring more than anything else. We have caliber 1315. It's a movement with 3 barrels, 120-hour 5-day power reserve, a free-sprung architecture for shock resistance and precise setting, 6-position adjustment, 1 more than a standard chronometer, 3 mainspring barrels, hacking, a quick set, and it's a free-sprung balance for shock resistance with that anti-magnetic silicone hairspring. It is a nicely decorated movement. The finish is mechanically applied, but with a degree of care and attention to detail that puts the locally manufactured and similarly prestigious Royal Oak offshore diver to shame. This is made within a stone's throw of Audemars Piguet, and I can tell you, in that town, this is by far the more elite movement in decorative terms than anything AP is putting in a standard Royal Oak diver. So don't mistake machine finished for crude. This is beautiful, and the watch itself is gorgeous. If you love it, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.